What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Absolute Strength Podcast. Got Ashlyn on the podcast. This is episode 200. Holy shit, made it to 200 episodes. And I will say this right off the bat, that the technology we're using is different. We took a step up, but mind you, I don't know how to use it. So if this episode if the audio sounds a little different, in a good way, well, it's because I upgraded equipment. But if it sounds terrible, it's just because I don't know how to use it. So episode 200, we made it. Crazy. Ashlyn, say something.
Excited to interview you.
Yeah, so that's the deal. So that's what we're going to do. We are, I'm going to let Ashlyn interview me for episode 200, but it'll probably be more of just a conversation than anything. I don't know. What do you have in mind?
Well, I figured, you could just do your normal thing where you talk for a little bit about the past 200 episodes and whatnot, and then I have a couple questions, and I want to end with a rapid fire session.
So you have some questions.
I do have a couple questions, but I'm more excited for this rapid fire. And so when I do that, you literally have to pick one right away. You can't think about it.
Yeah. Well, the idea I kind of have in my head is that hopefully the questions are something that people don't know about me.
I think some of them are.
Yeah.
I don't know that I know a couple of these.
No, you don't know. Well, shit, some of the Absolute Strength listeners might know me better than you do.
Oh, okay.
Think about this. No, think about this for a second, though. No, honestly, think about this. And I've actually had this happen with coaching calls. It's kind of interesting. Or just when I meet people in person. Like, actually, at my powerlifting meet, met a bunch of people who listen to the show. And it's just always kind of awkward. Now, mind you, I've been creating content for a long time. So it happened, expos and stuff, making YouTube videos. People follow you. They know a lot about you. So then when you meet them, they're kind of going into meeting you with, they have a bunch of background information on you, and you don't know nothing about them. You don't even know their name, but they know like all this detail, especially with podcasting though. Well, with YouTube too, it's more like, especially like vlog style, they get to know you, but I put out at least one episode a week, sometimes 2 episodes, sometimes 3 episodes a week, and hour and a half, 2 hours long, talk about a lot of random stuff. So when you were coming up with questions, kind of in my head was like, well, if you just ask random questions or just like standard questions, people are going to know about them. I mean, people will know a lot,
Yeah.
I talk a lot.
I don't listen to Kyle's podcast unless he has a really good guest on. So you
all
may know him.
What do you consider a good guest? I've had a lot of good guests.
Someone I'm interested in.
So we've done, this is the 200th episode.
I commented on your Instagram and told you my 2 favorite guests. You don't know who they are?
Chrissy May Cagney and Emily. Emily Schramm.
Yeah, Emily, the one I secured for you.
I know. You set that one up. Emily Schramm. That was, I think that's been your one contribution to the Absolute Strength podcast. Actually, you were on one episode.
I was.
You were on one episode.
I think, another time. I did your Q&A with you.
You did a Q&A with me, yeah. Q&A.
Long time ago.
Yeah, that was probably at least, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe.
But I listened to your earlier episodes, like when you first started it.
Back when they weren't very good.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah, so this is episode 200. We're sitting here in my office. It's kind of cool.
Do you remember when the first episode came out?
I don't know the day. It was August 2016.
Okay.
I made an Instagram post. I've actually talked about this on the podcast before, but what's wild is I actually wanted to start the podcast in like 2012. Maybe even 2011. I said 2012 in the Instagram post, but the first, actually, so way back in the day, the first actually, this is, I don't think I've ever told this on the podcast. The first podcast I ever remember listening to ever was, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I'm sure it's not around. It was a bodybuilding podcast, and I think it was like 2010, and they had Lane Norton on. They had Lane Norton on in like 2010, and I didn't even have the podcast app or anything. I probably just clicked the link on the website or something, and I remember listening to Lane Norton on this podcast, and then that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of podcasting. And then probably the first like real podcast that I followed though was Rob Wolf's podcast, which was probably 2011, 2012. And, of course, Rob Wolf's a paleo guy, so I was kind of following him. But he used to do like a Q&A style, and he would answer a lot of nutrition questions and just general like training questions. And they posted like once a week, but it was, you learned quite a bit. And then, as crazy as this sounds, is Rob Wolf was on Joe Rogan's podcast. This is, again, probably 2011, 2012.
And this is how you got into Joe Rogan?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew about Joe Rogan from, I watched Fear Factor back in the day, and then, of course, being a UFC fan, but I didn't know he had a podcast. So I was following Rob Wolf, his podcast, and then I remember him being, like, super excited that he was being a guest on Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm like, Joe Rogan has a podcast? What the hell is this? And I remember, so I listened to the Rob Wolf episode, but I remember like scrolling through all the other episodes, and this is early on JRE. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. I'm not listening to this. So I probably didn't listen to it, and then this was probably fast forward a little bit because I remember I was at Fredonia at the time in college, so probably 2012. About that time, I don't know, somebody else was on Rogan's podcast that sparked my interest, and I started listening to him. And that was the time I was like, I remember listening to Rogan, and I was like, you know what? I should make a podcast. Mm-hmm. I should make a podcast. I could be just like Joe Rogan.
Only better.
But yeah, it was like 2012, and I was like, you know what? Because I was making YouTube videos at the time, but I thought podcasting would be a good format for me. I just have always been someone that, I like talking. Mm-hmm. You know?
You do.
I like, even like back when I was a little kid, just like sitting down and having like a deep conversation just about random shit. I always enjoyed that. So podcast, like long form content tends to be good for me.
You will never give an answer to anybody without giving a background story.
Yeah, that's what's funny is that's what everyone always says too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed about you.
Yeah, like I can't just answer a question. I have to give you like context. I'm big on context.
To your answer.
Yeah, leading up. I like to tell a story about it. You know? Yeah. So that's why YouTube videos, it's hard to do for me to do Q&A YouTube videos. Like even back in the day because it would have to be like broken up into a bunch of them and then edited because I take too long. Yeah. That's why when I do Q&As on here, I can only go through like 4 or 5 questions and spend 2 hours. I'm like, shit, I better hurry up. Right. But yes, we'll get to your questions. I mean, of course, this podcast, as all podcasts, all Absolute Strength podcasts, are sponsored by PR Breaker. What do you think about PR Breaker?
I like it. I like your combination.
You like the sour gummy worm?
Yeah, I've had Kyle make it for me a couple times because I can't make it and get the flavor right, so I let him do it. It's
too hard to measure out 1 scoop of each.
You even like added more water that one time.
Well, you have to get the water right.
Because I only wanted like a half of a.
You got to get the water right. You got to get the right amount of the scoop in.
Like I didn't want a whole pre-workout. I wanted like half of a pre-workout, so I made you complicate it a little bit.
Yeah,
I didn't want that much caffeine.
Well, it's so the reason I actually came out with the sour gummy worm is because the original formula. People listen understand this, but if you don't know, the original formula, so the blue raz and the cotton candy is 300 milligrams of caffeine per serving. Mm-hmm. So it's 150 milligrams per scoop. It's 2 scoops per serving. So when Orange Creamsicle came out, it's the caffeine-free version. The same exact formula, still.
Just not the caffeine.
Yeah, everything's the same. 8 grams of citrulline malate, 3.2 grams beta-alanine, et cetera, 5 grams of creatine, but no caffeine. So everyone knows I'm a big coffee drinker. So I'll have a couple cups of coffee in the morning, and then when it comes time for me to train in the afternoon, if I've already had 2 big cups of coffee, I really don't need 300, probably shouldn't have 300 milligrams of caffeine again, after I've probably already had 400 milligrams of caffeine. So I'm like, well, why don't we just cut it in half? We'll go 150 milligrams. We'll do 1 scoop of caffeine-free, 1 scoop of regular, mix them together, same formula, half the caffeine, see what happens. And then turns out the flavor was great. Mm-hmm. So it was born. Yeah. But Blue Raz is great. Cotton candy is good. You've had those?
I don't like cotton candy anything. So
no?
Sorry.
Well, I don't like cotton candy either, but I really like the cotton candy flavor PR Breaker. And that's not, I actually remember, so that was the first one, that was the first product. And I remember when Derek told me about it, he's like, hey, I'll send you out some of the new, this is when he first came out with the company, I'll send you out some, and it's cotton candy. And in my head, I'm like, gotta admit, I'm probably not going to like it.
Sounds so sugary.
I'm like, it's going to be probably super sweet, probably not going to like it, but hey, send it out to me, I'll try it. And then I remember I tried it, and I was hooked on it. I probably went through that first tub in I don't know, a week.
Yeah, but here's the thing you need to know about Kyle. He'll say that he may not think he's going to like something, but he likes a lot more than I do. I'm a lot pickier than him. He will drink something even if it tastes bad. So
Yeah.
like for me to say that I don't like cotton candy, I just don't like cotton candy.
Yeah, I'll pretty
I
much
don't
drink
like fruit
anything.
punch. You know, like I'm just so particular.
I'm not too picky. I'm trying to think what's something I don't like the taste like drink wise.
I don't know. I don't know any flavor you don't like.
There were some G Fuel flavors I didn't like.
Yeah. But
I will say this.
I wasn't thinking about pre-workout.
All right,
I was
so
just thinking about flavors.
The one flavor of G Fuel that I hated was Tropical Rain. It literally, I remember when I opened it up, it
Was that
smelled.
when you said it tasted like cat piss?
No, it smelled like straight cat piss. I opened it up. I opened up the lid and I go, Tropical Rain should have been cat piss. But it didn't taste like cat piss. I mean, I don't know, I've never tasted cat piss, but it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. It was drinkable. Mm-hmm. I think I gave Johnny a tub of that.
You probably did. Sorry, Johnny. Oh, boy. No, but I like the sour gummy worm combo. I'm just not a cotton candy person, so.
Yeah, well, actually, we're out of Blue Raz right now, so
Derek.
there's a discount if you get the combo Blue Raz, or not Blue Raz, we're out of Blue Raz, but the combo of cotton candy and orange creamsicle, and you can still use the discount code HUNT10 to save yourself money.
Wonder what that tastes like, though.
I tried it.
What is that? You okay?
I'm joking.
Can't drink your Miller Lite anymore?
I know. Well, so there is kind of a name for that flavor, the cotton candy and the orange.
Uh-huh.
It kind of tastes like a pink Starburst.
That's your favorite one.
Well, that or the cherry.
All right, we're going to have to pause. I need to call 911 for Kyle.
I'm choking. Holy shit.
I'm coughing.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good. It tastes good. Like, it's a good flavor. It's not as good as, just being real, it's not as good as sour gummy worm. And I actually don't think it's as good as just cotton candy by itself or Blue Raz by itself. But it's pretty good. I mean, I like orange. I had orange by itself today because I had too much coffee this morning.
Yeah.
So I just had orange 100% by itself.
Yeah, Kyle he's not too picky. Not too picky. So.
Yeah. Well, if you want to support the show, save yourself some money, hunt10 at prburger.com. The link is in the show notes. It's I talk about it a lot, but it's the pre-workout I love. Recommend it to all my clients. It's what I take.
He does actually drink it every day. So
yeah, trust me. You guys know I wouldn't. How much shit over the years do I get sent? And then,
throw away.
I just throw away, and I'll try it, and I never mention it to anybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, how much stuff? A lot of stuff.
A lot. Not even just supplements.
Like everything. I get sent a lot of stuff.
What was that one big-ass thing that is in our garage that we need to get rid of, but you never...
A Bowflex?
Yeah.
I was sent a Bowflex. Bowflex HRT. Hopefully Bowflex isn't listening. I never did anything with it. Mm-hmm. I had every intention of... doing I don't know, they wanted me to do a video or something, but I just never got around to putting it together and doing anything with it. But I've been sent a lot of stuff over the years, and specifically with supplements, and I'll try anything just because. So I have been surprised in the past too, where there's been stuff that I didn't think I would like and liked and whatever. But there's been I'm not. Trust me. I mean, I've had deals in play. This is Ashlyn knows this. She's on here. She can back me up on this. I've had relatively lucrative supplement deals, like on paper, flat out offered to me, and I turned them down just because I didn't like the products.
Yeah,
100%. Like pretty deep for in terms of like how much people really. You think influencers make a lot of money off promoting supplements? Most of them don't. But in terms of in relevance here, I've had decent money on the table, and I've just said, no, I can't do it. Cannot do it. And it's just funny because you see most, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people in the fitness industry, it's funny. They bounce from one supplement company to company, and it's like, I just feel like a lot of people, they step over dollars to pick up pennies. It's like, at the end of the day, yeah, you can make a couple dollars selling your discount code, jumping from whatever company offers you extra % here or there or whatever. But for people who it matters, I pay attention. I notice things. If you do that, and I'm ever affiliated with a company and I have a decision to make, it doesn't look kindly on you. It's just, you got to have some loyalty. And then as a consumer too, it's like, okay, if you're promoting a different supplement every other week and now you want to promote something else to me that you actually believe in, well, how do I know you believe in it?
Right.
You've told me you've liked 3 different supplements the last 2 weeks. So how do you're going from brand to brand. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, but I'm not surprised. That's just,
I don't know. That's
influencer culture.
I say the fitness industry, and I can only comment on the fitness industry because it's what I'm deep into, been into like for 10 years. But man, even with coaching, I mean, it seems like I said this on the last podcast, so I don't want to go into it too much, but there's just a lot of shitty people just in general, but then in the fitness industry, but I've said it before, but it's when you get a huge following, just because someone has a huge following, okay, they earned it. Okay, they earned their following. We're doing whatever. I mean, girls if they're semi-attractive and have a nice butt or something.
Some people just get lucky too.
Yeah, but I don't like saying luck.
I know that, but you just think it's all being earned.
Well, I think for the most part, people, if they have a big following, they earned it. They worked hard to get it. But building a following doesn't make you a good coach, doesn't make you knowledgeable about training, doesn't make you a good person. Mm-hmm. You were good at building a following. That's what you were good at.
Right.
So, you can build a big following, and then, and I've always said this too. If someone has a huge following and they're offering customized coaching, they either are super passionate about coaching and they're going to charge you a lot of money because they have a big following, so there'll be a big interest, or they're going to scam you. Like there's nobody with a huge following that's offering cheap customized coaching. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's why you see all these people, like the dude from Shreds a couple years ago. He had like over 1 million followers. He had like 2 million followers or something, and he was charging like cheap customized programming, and it was getting thousands of people. But it was like some chick who worked for him, and she was barely even getting paid.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
I remember I did a video on it.
Okay. Yeah.
Back in the day. It sucks as a coach because so there's like 2 levels to it. You got the people with the big following that screw people over, and then you have people like these, because there's no barrier to entry to coaching. So you have all these Instagram coaches that they've literally been training for like a year, and now they're coaching people.
Yeah,
and they have. But what's crazy, and I don't want to go into this because I've said it before, but that was me at like 18. At 18, but I was obsessed with training since I was like 12. So even at 18, when I started Hunt Fitness, I'd been training for 6 years.
Yeah, but you also coach people for free.
I did for a long time. I had a lot of experience even at 18 when I actually officially started the company, because I actually started personal training at 17. And coaching, I was working in the gym personal training, but then when I started Hunt Fitness, probably from like 17 to 18, I pretty much just coached people for free just to get experience. Right. So then, but when I officially launched the company and was charging people, I'd probably already worked with like 50 people. Mm-hmm. So, it was quite a bit of experience. But even then, I thought I knew what I was doing. I knew more than most, but looking back, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's levels to it. Levels to it. It's just, and I'm just always looking to improve. So me at 27 is better than me than I was last year and better than me the year before. So,
right.
I'm just kind of hitting my stride, I guess. But
you're on the upward swing.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like at 30 I'll be better than I was now.
Let's hope so.
But I don't know. It's just, I actually think like right now, especially with my group of clients, like shout out to my group of clients. I have a bunch of stud clients right now. Probably the best group of clients I've ever had. I don't know. Maybe that's partly because I'm doing a great job right now, but then I think part of it is just having a great group of clients. So if anybody listening wants to join, KyleHuntFitness.com. That's the website. More information about my coaching is in the show notes. Or if you just want to send me an email, KyleHuntFitness@gmail.com. We can start the conversation, jump on a call, talk about your goals, talk about how we can get you set up for the rest of 2019, take you to the next level, get you set up. Want to start the questions? What do you got? What do you got for me?
I got a couple.
Episode 200. What do we got?
Okay, so we're going to talk about something that you know and love. And I'm sure that your listeners know because you've had quite a few on. But Kyle was a wrestler. And
Okay.
I would say that this is part of why you're so disciplined. Would you agree?
From wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think...
It's not like you started in high school. You wrestled when you were little all throughout. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I started when I was really little. I started when I was like 5 or 6. I can't actually remember. I think 6. I say 5 a lot, but I think I was actually 6 when I started.
Do you think that is part of why you're such a disciplined person?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I'm trying to think when I first started being super, super disciplined. I think I probably always was, but then probably around... probably middle school. So probably 7th or 8th grade is when I just started like really buckling down on just everything. I mean, school, practice.
Right.
Then when I started working out in like 8th grade. But yeah, I think wrestling definitely had a part into it.
Okay, so that wasn't my question. That was just the lead into my question. My question is, so that's a positive aspect. Do you think that wrestling for so long and kind of going into it, you were very all about it. What negative effects do you think it might have had on you?
So I think I'm actually going to take a kind of a detour answer to this.
What does that mean?
So I don't think wrestling itself. I mean, I'll go into wrestling itself and kind of how I felt like that kind of negatively affected me because I think it did in certain ways. But in terms of like mindset wise, I think I'm a very, very competitive person.
Are you?
So I just, even playing football when I was little, super competitive. The only reason I did good in school is because I'm super competitive. Like, I can't do anything and not be competitive about it. Like, that's that's like my unique advantage is just, and a lot of people say, oh, I'm competitive. Yeah, well, there's competitive and then there's
your level
super
of,
competitive.
Yeah.
Like, and mind you, there's levels of competitiveness, and this is what I'm trying to get at, is kind of how I'm trying to answer this question is, like, I wouldn't change it because, like I said, I think this is like my competitive advantage, you know. But
it's also a disadvantage.
But it's a disadvantage because, I mean, I think to the heart of it is, I think almost all my enjoyment, like true enjoyment, is based off from accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just have fun.
Yeah, so
being serious.
That's a problem. No, I know.
No, I'm being serious. Like, I don't think I can't just have fun.
I know that.
Like, if it doesn't, like, me having fun is accomplishing something.
Right.
Like, winning something or doing, like, something positive. Like, trying, like, something that's an accomplishment is fun to me. Like, just purely just to do something for fun.
What's that?
Like, I can't, like, I'll do it. Like, I'll take part in it, but I'm not having fun. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, I do.
You know what I'm trying to say, though? Like, you can go, it's like, I don't know, go do something for fun. And it's like, oh, this is supposed to be fun. I'll act like I'm having fun, but I'm not really having fun here. I'm trying to think of an example, but...
I don't know, but yeah, I do know that you're like that.
Actually, I actually have an example. And this is kind of why probably when it first hit me, but not... I think I always knew it from a sports setting. Like, because I've told this story before on the podcast, but even when I was like a little kid, or especially in high school, I would... If I lost a match in wrestling, it was... Like, my week was ruined. Like, that day, mind you, most of the time that I lost, it'd be in the finals, so it'd be the last match. But, like, my day was over. Like, it was, like, there's no coming back from that. Like, mentally, I was so pissed off. Like, just, it ruined me. So I could not comprehend at all how somebody, like, on my team could lose a match, then come up in the stands with, like, their friends and their family and, like, have a snack and, like, have fun. And, like, they're, like, laughing.
Yeah.
And, like, having a good time. Like, I just couldn't, I was like, you just lost. Like, how you walk up in the stands and now you're having, like, a fun time? Like, you're enjoying yourself? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Like, I lose, and it's like, I mean, I can't even describe it. Like, it was terrible, you know? Mm-hmm. But, so that feeling, like, I don't wish that on anybody, really. Like, man, like, I almost kind of envy the people that could keep things in perspective. It's like, okay, it's high school wrestling,
right?
You know? But it wasn't even about, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it wasn't even about wrestling. It's just, that's who I am. Mm-hmm. Like, now that it meant a lot to me, so that's partly why I reacted that way, but, you know, it could have been something else important that mattered to me, and if I lost at that, I'd be just as devastated.
Right.
You know? I just couldn't, I don't know, just couldn't really relate to the people that just did it for fun, I guess is what, that's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if I've really done much for fun.
So what you're saying is you're not very easygoing.
Probably not. But in some cases I am, I think, you know? Like, I'm pretty, like, I don't let things that don't matter bother me. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, little things usually don't bother me. I think it's just, like, I'm very, like, I think I do a good job of, like, blocking out little shit.
Yeah. Like,
if it's not, like, directly kind of what I'm focused on, I kind of block it out. Mm-hmm. I don't really there's not a lot of, leisure stuff I really even like to do, though. So
you don't have to tell me that. I live with you.
I know. I'm just talking about that from the podcast.
Oh, I know. It's just funny. It is true.
Well, you kind of explain what you're thinking
about which part?
Any of it?
Yeah. I mean, you really don't do a lot for fun. Anything that's for fun for Kyle is also like betterment for himself. So he's either listening to something or studying something or reading something.
I think sometimes I talk about this on the podcast and people might not believe it.
No, it's true. Here's what we do, okay? If we have any time together during the day or even most of the time at night is when we get to spend some time together where it's not just here and there because we're both home most of the day all day. We watch a TV show and it depends what's on. So right now we're rewatching Ballers because that's Kyle's favorite. Mm-hmm. So that's the enjoyment that he has.
I normally will give myself like an hour. Pretty much, I have like an hour of leisure a day.
And so that's like a normal day when we have our daughter. If like your mom takes her and Kyle and I then go out and maybe have a date or do something, like that's different. This is a regular day where we have Lucy all day long and we watch either one or two TV shows at night. That's it. That's his fun.
Yep.
And we live at the beach. That's his fun.
Yeah. But see that I will say this. After, doing everything I do all day long, I do like to have like at least an hour at nighttime to kind of calm down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I have so much like going on in my head, it's hard to almost not calm down earlier in the day. Like it's hard for me to calm down earlier in the day.
Right.
Well, actually, the other day when we went out, we went and my mom had Lucy, and we.
Oh my goodness!
Wanted to take some pictures, so we went out. I got so
mad at you.
I know you got mad at me.
I was pissed.
I don't even know what even really happened.
Well, I think we had two different ideas of what we were going to do. You thought we were just going to go take some photos and come back home. I thought we were going to do what we normally do when your mom takes her. And that's when we, go out and do stuff for a little bit. So it's like dinner time and I'm hungry. So I wanted to go eat after we took the photos. And Kyle's like, no, I want to go home. He's like, I have too much to do. I can't give you another hour.
But
no. This is my husband.
But I do remember I specifically said beforehand, before we left, I said I was going to eat.
Yeah, but you never said that we were going to come back home. Like, I thought we were going to walk around, maybe, like, walk around the park or go into some stores because we were down at this outdoor, like, park/restaurant/shopping center area. There was no talk of going home. So, like, I didn't need to eat right then. I was thinking we'd go walk around and then we'd go get something to eat and you'd be hungry by then. But you're like, sorry, I have more work to do.
I always have more work to do.
And it's like after 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. If I stopped at 5 o'clock, that'd be a half day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people probably think you're being a little over the top, but it's no. This is Kyle.
Yeah, there's not many people in the fitness industry that outwork me.
Right. Okay, so I do want to know. I want like a hard answer. What wrestling, like, say from not a mindset standpoint, but what being so into wrestling maybe did for your either like self-confidence or maybe made you more obsessed with food or with your weight?
Made me obsessed with my weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it screwed me up big time for that. Just, and really when I got into lifting weights, because I was so obsessed with my body weight, like I didn't want to, I wanted to lift, it was a competing interest. So I wanted to build muscle and gain strength because that's why I was lifting.
At your weight
but I also didn't want to gain any weight.
Yeah.
So that led me to barely eating anything. So I would just like train my ass off, lift heavy and like try to train hard, but then also like not eat anything because I would constantly monitor my weight. So I became obsessed with that. So that kind of held me back a little bit. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of other negative things. From a self-confidence standpoint, probably mostly positive. I think one good thing about wrestling is most people go throughout life having never really, most people never really had like a one-on-one confrontation with somebody.
Right.
You know? And I think a lot of times people, and when you hear people talk too, people have never been humbled, you know? Most people have never been humbled. Like when you hear people talking at a bar or like older people talking, like maybe they've never wrestled, they never actually had like one-on-one combat with another person. People get a little overconfident. They just feel like they can beat everyone's ass.
Why do I feel like you're talking about like my dad and his
I kind of feel like I am talking about your dad in a sense. In a sense. Well, it's just, it's funny, but, you know, when you've never been humbled in a sense. I guess that's the best word to use. It's like it's, you know, a lot of people, they go to bars and they just think, oh, well, might, you know, get a little too confident. I'll beat his ass. But you never know who the other person is.
Yeah.
You know, trust me, like almost every wrestler will tell you, like there's times when you go out and you just get your ass beat. And there's just something very humbling. You go on a mat and it's just one-on-one. And yeah, it's not MMA. There's no like punching and kicking. But if you've wrestled, you understand what I'm saying. Like when someone dominates you in a wrestling match, that pretty much means that they can do whatever they want to you. That's why I look at the UFC, who has all the belts. It's all wrestlers. Yeah. Pretty much all wrestlers. You know, it's because if you can control where the action takes place, that's like the old saying. It's like, oh, if you get in a street fight with a wrestler, they're going to take you to the ground and then you're in trouble. So
why weren't you so sure that Khabib was going to win? I know you were thinking Conor might win.
Well, I wanted Conor to win because for the longest time I wanted GSP to fight Conor, and I thought that's what was going to happen. So yeah. I wanted Conor to beat Khabib, but I mean, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure only in the sense that, I mean, Conor has his stand-up's good, so I thought maybe he could land some punches and you know, do more damage. But I mean, Khabib kind of beat his ass. So
he did. Yeah, no, Khabib definitely did beat Conor's ass, and I don't know. I was just a little surprised whenever that first, you know, came out. You were thinking that it was possible for McGregor to win.
Yeah, I thought it'd be possible for him. But I don't know. I've heard the rumors that maybe GSP will fight Khabib soon.
Oh yeah. Well, if that happens,
I'd like to see that.
We're gonna get that fight.
They have John Jones fighting again already. He's fighting in a couple weeks.
Anybody good?
Anthony Smith. I don't even know who this dude is. Just looking at him, doesn't look like it's gonna be too good for him.
Wait. No, that's the one you showed me the photo the other day. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to do too well.
No, definitely not. But so I want to continue and get on to the next question, which, you know, being a coach in the fitness industry, a lot of them don't have degrees, and then some do. Kyle is one who has a degree in exercise science, which some of you listening may know, but what you might not know is that he almost went into sports management instead, and I'm not sure I know why you changed.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I've ever really talked about this on the podcast that much. But yeah, I initially I thought about doing sports management instead of exercise science, and partly was, well, two things. One is I didn't think exercise science was really worth a shit. You know, like I figured that was what I wanted. Like truly, that's what I wanted to do because that's what I was super passionate about was like the science of training, exercise physiology. Like I wanted to learn more about biomechanics, kinesiology, exercise physiology, things like that. I wanted to learn more about that. But on the flip side, the reason why I thought sports management would be the play is, and this is probably what differs me from most people in the fitness industry, is I've always been very entrepreneurial. Like I've just like very interested in business in that side of things. So I thought sports management, honestly, because I actually wanted to be like a GM. Like in my head, perfect world, I wanted to be the GM of the Bills. Like that's what I wanted to do. So like, okay, well, I'll try to like build my resume up on the business side of things and do that. And kind of thought about that. And then I was like, well, my back, plan B essentially, if going the sports team route, front office of a sports team doesn't work out, well, then I'll have the business knowledge, which mind you, looking back, I probably wouldn't learn actually much practical business that actually help you in a, running a company or anything or being an entrepreneur. But I thought, well, if going the front office route of a sports team didn't work, well, I'd have business knowledge so then I could actually pursue, running a business or something.
Right.
But yeah, I've always been super passionate about business stuff. Like, but even if you talk to my mom, like she'll always say, like she always makes jokes like that. I'll try to sell everything.
Yeah,
because I've always been that type of person. Like, like it's always came natural to me. I just was always looking for opportunities, looking for ways to make money.
Yeah.
Flipping shit. Like I was like a teenager. I'd flip shit on eBay. It's funny because you'll hear like Gary Vee talk about stuff now. He tells he talks about all the time, like people looking, they need money, but they have shit in their closet or they can go to yard sales and buy stuff cheap and flip it. That's what I used to do. I used to make thousands of dollars in high school off of eBay. Flipping shit. And then I worked for a contractor and then I did all kinds of stuff for him. And that was what really kind of opened up my eyes because he was an entrepreneur and kind of the first guy I was ever around that was self-employed. And as crazy as it sounds so I worked for this contractor when I was in high school. And it actually ended up being like a pretty big turning point in my life because, again, this dude was a big-time contractor, built bunch of houses a year. I mean, we're talking big houses, like big, nice houses. Had a big time contracting company, and started working for him my freshman year. Kind of worked through him all throughout high school, and just kind of what I was fascinated with was how he actually ran the business, like the day to day of managing all the guys. Making phone calls and like setting up meetings and making sure like there was guys working on this house and guys at another house and making sure deliveries were set up for this house and this project and making sure material was there. And then in the winter he had contracts with banks to have snow removal and making sure guys were available to do that in the morning. And then what was crazy is, we developed a really good relationship. I mean, he treated me like I was his son. Like,
because he never had one.
Yeah, I was like the son he never had, and I did a bunch of stuff for him. A bunch of stuff, and it was kind of let me in on the business. I was in high school and I had like a company credit card, like to go to Home Depot and like order materials and stuff. I was like 16.
Yeah, right.
He went on vacation one time for like a week and he had like a brand new Hummer and he just like let me have it. He was like, you can just have the Hummer for the week.
Well, this isn't like a normal boss, everybody. They ended up being like family friends. He was at our wedding.
Yeah, he came to my wedding.
Your wedding?
Our wedding?
Our wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came down to Florida. So, yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
So, but then the reason I actually switched back to exercise science is just being practical. I was like...
You didn't think it was going to actually pan out?
Right at the last second, I was like, I should just go exercise science. I mean, I already have a fitness company. Like, I'm training people. Hunt Fitness was already going.
Okay.
So I'm like, why don't I just go exercise science? And really, it was just like, there'll be the,
the
smart route. Because, I mean, so, and I guess to provide some context there is like my first 2 years, I didn't really have a major. So I'm talking like going into my junior years, that's when I switched and actually went exercise science for just my junior and senior year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Got another question?
Yeah, I got a burp. So I was pointing like, wait a minute.
You're not good at radio. Radio silence isn't good.
I'm not good at radio, but I know you're going to edit this, so that's why.
I'm not editing it.
You're not what in it?
I'm editing it.
You're going to edit it. Okay, so this is just something cliche, but I'm just curious to see what your answer is. Are you ready? Are you paying attention?
Yep.
Okay. So at this point in your life, how old are you?
27.
27.
27's a big year.
I'm going to be 30.
27, there's the curse of the 27.
Don't even start. What would you say was the hardest life lesson you had to learn?
Hardest life lesson?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, and you don't listen to the podcast, so you don't even know. But the last episode, literally the last episode, someone asked me what was my biggest obstacle in my career so far.
And what'd you say?
And I said, having Lucy.
Oof. Don't let her hear you.
Mm-hmm. I explained it and kind of why. But that's kind of initially what came to my head. But I don't know. What are you going for?
Anything in your adult life. What was the hardest life lesson you had to learn?
Hardest life lesson?
Yeah. That's not like an obstacle. Like something that you learned.
I don't know. That's a tough question. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of life lessons, that you learn throughout the years. I learned lessons every day.
Oh, yeah? Well, what was the hardest one to learn?
No, the hardest one today, just looking at the cat over here, is should I never start giving her chicken?
She's bigger now, yeah.
I don't know. I would probably say something along the lines of being a parent, though. Mm-hmm.
So what did you learn?
I might have to come back to this one. I got to think about it.
All right, you write that down, and we'll be expecting an answer in a podcast episode soon.
I don't know. I want to answer it. It's just a lot of it would be just around being more responsible. A lot changes when you become a parent. Mm-hmm. I again, kind of going back to, I think, my competitiveness and how I'm just very competitive, very driven to accomplish things. Like that's how I get my excitement, is just like putting up like Mark Bell would say, putting up points on the scoreboard. Like that's like how I live day to day. That's what gets me out of bed, is like the ability to put up points. Mm-hmm. And kind of what I did up until becoming a father is just become very, very selfish. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, if it doesn't move me forward, then there's no point of you being in the conversation. Yeah. I think it was Joe DeSena. He runs Spartan Race. In his book, he tells a story. I've told it before on the podcast, but probably butcher. I can't remember the details, but it's essentially, it was like a boat team, and for a year, I think they were training for the Olympics or something, and for a year, they told themselves that they would ask the question before they did anything was, will it make the boat go faster? So it's like, hey, gotta wake up and train tomorrow. Is training gonna make the boat go faster? Yeah, okay, good. Well, we're gonna train then. Oh, would skipping the session make the boat go faster? No, wouldn't. Whatever. Just always ask yourself, before you do everything, would it make the boat go faster? So I kind of adopted that mindset before I even read that book or knew about that. But just, me in high school and me in college was just, hey, does it make my goals? Does it make me reach my goals faster?
So what's your question now?
No. Well, and then kind of what I'm explaining is, so then that just developed like selfishness, which never was really a bad thing, just because it kind of worked for me. But then as you become an adult and have responsibilities, a family, a wife, a kid, well, now you have to kind of expand that, and it's not just about what makes you better, but what makes everyone better. Mm-hmm. So I think just a lot of it would just be just added responsibility. I don't know. Let me ask you, like, how have I changed since you've known me or since we've had Lucy or the last few years?
Well, I think you take everything a lot more seriously now, if that even makes any sense to you. Because you're here saying that you've always taken things seriously, which you have. But, like, when we first met and then even when I was pregnant, like, so we clearly didn't have Lucy yet, you were still a little bit more laid back, relaxed,
I'll agree with that.
You had a lot more fun.
I'll agree with that. I actually will agree. That's actually a good point. I do take things a lot more serious now. Like, I was serious before. Like, I think if you went and talked to anybody who knew me, like, in high school or college, like, I was always a pretty serious person. But I still had fun, still kind of laid back about certain things.
Yeah.
Still did some... Like,
one thing I'm specifically thinking about is, like, he works, like, so long, so that whenever I had a dinner meeting down in Charleston, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours away, I wanted him to come with me because I wasn't going to drive back at night, late at night. So I had a hotel and, wanted Kyle to come down with me. So his mom took Lucy. And something that, like, he would never have cared about before was, like, the 1.5, 2 hours of work in the car that he was missing. Like, he would not have cared about that in 2013 or 2014 like he does now in 2019. Like, I drove because he wanted to work in the car. Yeah. And that's definitely not something you would have cared about.
I think now it's just, like, and I've said this before on the podcast, and I think probably people don't believe me, but my day is scheduled from the time I wake up till pretty much the time I go to bed. Like, I have time slots for everything.
Yeah, this is true.
Like, that's why I don't answer. If you call me and you're not on my schedule, my calendar, I don't answer it. I don't care if you're my mom.
Okay, Tracy, you hear that?
That's the truth. You know it. My mom or my stepdad. If you're not on my calendar and you call me, I'm not answering it. I have no notifications on my phone besides my calendar.
I've complained about
that. Text, I don't get texts. Like, I get them. Obviously, I get texts. So if clients text me, I get them, but I have to physically check on the messaging app.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't get a notification, ooh, so-and-so text you. I don't get that. I have nothing. Instagram, nothing. Like, no social media, anything on my phone gives me a notification except my calendar. So I know, like, when I have a call coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm I stick right to my calendar. So, like, my day is very regimented. And I like that. But with that comes, like, hey, if something is going to, like, I think of everything in, like, these hour blocks. So it's like, if something's taking up my hour block, well, that has to be replaced somewhere. It's going to screw up my day.
Yeah, so he's just not a lot, he's not as flexible as he
Yeah, he used to be a lot more flexible just with everything. Well, again, too, I think part of it is, man, being younger, I just wasn't as focused on really what I wanted to. Like Stephen Pressfield's book, Turning Pro. He talks about, like, the difference between an amateur and a pro. And really looking back, I was just an amateur on a lot of things when I was younger. Even when, early 20s, 20, 21, 22 even. I thought I was busy. I thought I was productive. And I was. For a 21-year-old, I was. I was productive. I had my shit together. But there was a lot of leaks. There was a lot of holes in the boat. You know what I mean? I was leaking water in areas. But looking back was fine. It was fine. You know what I mean?
Right.
For where I was. Like, there would be, if I was who I am now at 21, if I acted like that at 21, I mean, shit, maybe people who are super successful at 21 and are accomplishing crazy shit, then yeah, maybe they are. But, I mean, you just, again, it's all like this natural progression. So who I am now, it's kind of that natural progression to where I'm at. But again, it kind of goes back, this kind of full circle to what we talked about in the beginning is, I don't know if this is a good thing. It makes me happy. That's the thing.
I think it has advantages and disadvantages.
It definitely does. But for me, like, again, like, for an hour, like, in a car ride, for just purely me, just like you listening to music, me kind of listening to music, but having my laptop out and working on something, like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to not be productive in that hour.
Right. And so if he was driving, he would be begging me to let him put a podcast on.
Yeah.
So that just, yeah. that's just
so. It
how
actually
you are.
that's kind of how I look at it. Like, okay, well, if you just drive, then I'll work, and then you can just listen to whatever music you want. Because if I'm driving, then probably what I would end up doing is, okay, well, you can listen to music, and I'll just have a headphone in or something.
Yeah, I don't like when you do that.
No.
So yeah, but I think that's what it is. I think you are just more serious.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing too is I try to, like, when we do have family time, though, is I try not to blend family time and business time as much as I think I used to, too. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of times when we would hang out, like, I would kind of still do work stuff. You know what I mean? Like, when we were having, I don't know, like a date night or just hanging out at nighttime, I would still kind of be doing stuff. But now, for the most part, like, yeah, I work more, but when it's time that we hang out, like, I don't really do work anymore.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I pretty much turn it off. Like, if we're hanging out watching a show or something, I'm not doing work. Even if we go out to dinner or something.
Yeah.
I try really hard not to do, I mean, it's just, we're having dinner.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably something I do a better job at. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a little bit more, I don't know, just disciplined in the sense that, yeah, I work more, but the time I do spend family time is I try to really...
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Another things I do, too, is this is a benefit of working from home is I'll take, like, 15 minutes throughout the day. I'll come out and wrestle with Lucy and play with Lucy and, you know, show her some time throughout the day. So it's like I might not get a ton of time, but, you know, she still gets to see me.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go to a little bit more of a lighthearted, fun one here, and I think you'll enjoy this question. If you could have the life of a Tom Cruise character from one of his movies, which one would it be?
So
I don't think about money in any of these. Like, the character is equally rich in this made-up scenario.
So if people listening don't realize I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. I don't know if I've ever even mentioned that on the podcast, honestly.
That's not the only time he comes up, so.
I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. Ashlyn didn't think she liked Tom. When we first met, she told me she didn't like any Tom Cruise movie.
Let me explain, and it's just because I think Tom Cruise is a weirdo.
He is a weirdo, but for whatever reason, I've just always been a big Tom Cruise fan. Yeah. Ever since I watched Days of Thunder for the first time.
See, I'd never really watched.
Top Gun.
No, I don't think I watched any Tom Cruise movies before you showed me one. The first one, I don't know what was it, but
probably Top Gun.
And I didn't like it when I first watched it.
So, if I could have any life.
Yeah, from any of the ones that we've seen.
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think.
So, you know, we have the life of the bartender on the luxurious islands in Cocktail. We have the weird sex ring in Eyes Wide Shut.
He was a doctor in Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah. What if I picked Eyes Wide Shut?
Pack your shit.
If anybody hasn't watched the movie Eyes Wide Shut, do yourself a favor. It's going to be the weirdest.
Nicole Kidman in it too,
Nicole
right?
Kidman too, yeah, his ex-wife. That's going to be the weirdest movie you ever saw in your life.
Mm-hmm. But watch it. It
weird.
might still be on Netflix, but
I don't think it is. But
it was.
It's weird. That movie is weird.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm not going to pick that.
I know. You could be the big time sports agent and Jerry Maguire.
I was going to say so initially the answer that came to me is the one I'm going to pick. It's Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
But I did want to think about some of the other ones. But the answer is Jerry Maguire. Mm-hmm. I would love to be a sports agent. Like that would be cool. Like I feel like I would really enjoy that.
You don't want to be Tom Cruise when he's in the IMF.
Mission Impossible?
Yeah, saving the world from bad guys.
Nah.
You don't want to be...
It'd be cool, but
in Jack Reacher, beating everybody up.
What even was he in Jack Reacher?
He was like a retired, some sort of agent.
Yeah, something.
He was a veteran, like a retired agent.
Yeah, something.
So...
I could be a NASCAR driver. Or a Top Gun pilot.
Yeah, maybe.
Or a lawyer.
I think
multiple times.
I think if you could men. No, I think Jerry Maguire is probably.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire would be the answer. Mm-hmm. Show me the money.
Oh my goodness! You gotta say it with a little more feeling.
If you ask me what Leo character, I'd rather be.
Well, we can add that in. Go ahead. What Leo character?
What character? Leo character would I be?
Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort.
All right. So this is the last question before we get to the rapid fire section.
Okay.
And I know this is the question that everyone wants an answer to. Will there be any little Kyle Hunt Juniors hitting the wrestling mat one day?
This question. I don't know. Lucy might want to wrestle.
I mean,
seriously, I think she wants to wrestle. I don't know if she does or not.
I'm
but
putting her in gymnastics.
She's a tough little girl, though.
She's a tank.
There's just wrestling as a sport. I mean, in the United States it doesn't get a lot of publicity, but it's as good as it's ever been. There's a lot of great female wrestlers.
Well, we watched that one documentary, Audrey and Daisy, and that chick was a wrestler. Mm-hmm. That wasn't what the documentary was about, but she was a wrestler. Remember
That's
that?
right, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Part of me says, yeah, I want a little boy at some point, but then the other part of me is like, I don't know. I think part of the benefit of having a kid young is then
we're done early.
You know? Part of me is just, another issue. So kind of giving some context and some backstory here is I have a younger sister. She's 10 years younger than me. So kind of seeing my parents go through that is like, man, I've been on my own since I was like 18. Like I really, from a parenting standpoint, like if my parents haven't had to do anything for me since I was 18 or younger. So
mostly,
so the fact that, they're still being parents for this entire time kind of is like, well, shit.
Yeah.
They could have been.
Well, hell, I'm not waiting for 10 years. There's no way.
Well, no.
We're going to have another kid. It's going to be sometime.
Well, I'm not saying that we would wait 10 years. I'm just saying that.
No, that's a big gap.
I'm just saying, like, in general. Like,
my sister's 12 years older than me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is.
No, I know. It's nice to not have to deal with diapers anymore. So it's like we'd have to go back through that. But I think if we had a little boy that looked like you running around, you would enjoy it. Yeah,
I probably would. I don't know. Maybe. I don't want to say never.
Right.
But, I don't know. I've part of me, though, on the other, kind of on the flip side, like, shit, I have so much I want to accomplish that maybe, I don't know.
You have a stay-at-home wife, I feel like. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
It's not like, you really have to.
Maybe. So that's all the questions you had?
Yeah.
That's all the questions you had?
Rapid fire
I feel like you didn't really answer any question, anything that people didn't know.
Really? You think people knew all of that?
For the most part, probably.
I think you're
I'm going to ask you. All right. So after this rapid fire, I'm going to ask you questions about me.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. See how much I know about you. All right. So I kind of told you what this rapid fire is, but it's like a this or that. So you pick one immediately. Do not hesitate and don't think about it. Okay? Ready?
Is this like fuck, marry, kill?
No, we could do that too, but no, rapid fire. So it'd be like Bud Light or Miller Light. That's just a test. You know what I mean? Do you understand?
I'm supposed to answer?
Yeah. That wasn't one. That was just an example. So, and I tried to pick some things that either you don't like a lot or you do like a lot, so it's like tough for you to.
All right. Well, let's hear it.
All right. Cookies or ice cream?
Well, these are two things I do like.
Exactly.
Cookies and ice cream are probably my two favorite desserts.
Uh-huh. That's why I picked them.
One clarification.
Oh, Lord.
Are we talking macro-friendly ice cream?
Pretend macros
So
don't
macros
exist.
doesn't exist?
No.
Well, I guess you can have macro-friendly cookies too, but I think macro-friendly ice cream is better. So if it was macro-friendly cookies
Whatever
versus
you're eating
ice cream,
here, it's not going to make you gain weight.
All right. This is how I'll answer it, just for because that's what came in my head initially. If we're talking like macro-friendly cookie versus macro-friendly ice cream, I'm taking macro-friendly ice cream. But if we're talking just calories don't matter, I'm gonna take a cookie.
Okay. Pizza or pasta?
Pizza. That's easy.
The Patriots or the Steelers?
Oh, that's tough because I hate both of them. What's the context, though?
You got to pick which one you'd rather be or have. You're picking which one you prefer. So
which one I'd rather root for?
Sure.
Steelers, as much as it pains me to say, because I can't root for the Patriots at all.
And does it have anything to do with your wife?
Well, you are from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Okay. Doug Flutie or Jim Kelly?
So I have to go with Doug Flutie, because the reason I love the Bills and the reason I actually even followed football at all is because of Doug Flutie. Actually, I never even really liked football that much. Even I played football. So I played football for a year. I started when I was 8. And I'm trying to think. So I went to my first football game, first NFL game in 98 or 99. So it was actually right about the time I played football, but I had no interest in it. I had no interest in it. And then my stepdad took me to a Bills game. I think it was 1998. Went to a Bills game in December, and Doug Flutie was the Bills quarterback. It was actually against the Patriots when Drew Bledsoe was their quarterback. And I mean, I probably had a little bit of interest in the Bills before that, but I remember after I went to my first game and saw Flutie play, I was hooked. Doug Flutie is the reason why I became a diehard Bills fan. Just because I could relate to him. He was this shorter guy. I was always a short kid. I was always the shortest kid in my grade. So then the Bills quarterback was this guy who's 5'10". He was this. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy in college, but then never really played in the NFL much. Went to the USFL because he was too short, too small. No one wanted him to play. And then even the Bills, so they had Rob Johnson. They wanted Rob Johnson to be their starting quarterback, and they essentially just signed Flutie to be the backup. But then Rob Johnson pretty much just shit the bed, and then he got hurt, and then Flutie came in and just started winning every game. And he was always a fan favorite because he was a small guy. 5'10" quarterback. He was listed at 5'10". He probably wasn't even 5'10". He was probably 5'8".
Oh, wow.
It's insane. 5'8" or 5'9". Was the quarterback. And measurable wise, he didn't have a super strong arm. Wasn't he was super fast. He scrambled around. Wasn't really accurate. He didn't have anything on paper that you'd be oh man, he's going to be a great quarterback. But just he figured it out somehow. Mm-hmm. He figured it out. Somehow, the game would be close at the end, and then you'd end up winning. Somehow. He would just figure it out. Loved Doug Flutie.
All right, so Doug Flutie. Sorry, Jim Kelly. He didn't make the cut.
Loved Jim Kelly, though, too. But, so here's the reason why, though. By the time I started watching the Bills, Jim Kelly was retired.
Right.
So I actually don't have one memory of watching Jim Kelly play football.
Okay.
Not one memory of watching Jim Kelly play. But, I mean, the Bills that's what they're known for. I mean, other than O.J. Simpson is losing 4 Super Bowls, and that's Jim Kelly.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, lost every one.
Yeah. Oof. Sucks to suck. Evgeny Malkin or Sidney Crosby?
Don't care.
Do that to appease me, please.
Crosby, I guess, because I have a Crosby hoodie.
You do?
I do. I like that hoodie.
I know. You've
gray
had that
hoodie.
hoodie since 2013.
I know.
I gave that to you. All right, mountains or the beach?
Beach.
Yeah, beach. Okay. Sleeping in or staying up late?
I've never slept in my life.
I know. So which one would you rather?
Well.
But sleeping in for you could be 8 a.m.
Well, 8 a.m. is sleeping in for me. I don't know when the last time I slept.
No one's saying you got to sleep till noon. I'm just
I don't think I've ever slept till noon in my life.
What would you rather do? Sleep until 8 or stay up till 3 in the morning?
Even during my when I was in college and would stay out partying, there was times when I stayed out all night, still woke up by 9. I don't think I've ever slept in till noon in my life. I've also, fun fact, I've never used the snooze button ever. You can attest to that. I've never used the snooze button. I've never once.
He doesn't even really need
it.
an alarm clock though either.
No.
Either the cat wakes him up or his body wakes him up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
but I don't.
Pick one.
I don't.
Sleeping until 8 a.m. or staying up till 3 a.m.
I don't really like either one of them, but I'd rather stay up till 3.
Okay. Tom Cruise or The Rock?
That's a tough question. Probably The Rock, just because he's The Rock.
Top Gun or A Few Good Men?
A Few Good Men.
Okay, good. President Kirkman or Lieutenant Kendrick?
Most people listening don't even know what the hell we're talking about.
They'll Google it.
Kendrick.
Ugh, yuck. All right, Ballers or Ozark?
Those are like my two favorite shows.
I know, it's the pick one.
They're like the only two shows I like.
Uh-huh.
Ballers. But I love Ozark.
House of Cards, while Kevin Spacey was still on it. House of Cards without Kevin Spacey.
I don't even think I've watched anything without Kevin Spacey. Although the last season with him kind of sucked too.
You did watch that little video he put out.
I know.
Kind of creepy.
That was weird.
It was really creepy.
Yeah.
All right, you can quiz me on you.
That was all you had?
Yeah, that's my rapid fire.
That's all the material you had for episode 200.
Yes, that's it.
Wow.
That's it.
It'll be episode 400 before you come back on.
Oh, that's a not nice.
Trying to think here. All right. Here's a good question for you about me. So, since we've met, so going back some years here, what do you think is one thing that you didn't know about me initially that you've learned about me over the years? Like something that's obviously not, it's not like obvious, like the first year, didn't like you knew right away about me, but it took a few years of knowing me, living with me to learn.
That's interesting. It's a good question. I don't know, because you were definitely a little different in the beginning.
You don't know? Maybe that's too hard of a question.
I don't know that it's too hard of a question. I just think a lot of things in the beginning are done for the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it
Well,
was...
asked a different way. How about this? Just like, what's something that the listeners of the show don't know about me?
There could be a basket for dirty clothes in Kyle's room, and he will leave his socks on the floor.
Yeah, I do leave my socks everywhere.
But he doesn't pick them back up. So, that is one thing. That kind of goes against, like, how, like, neat he tries to keep his office, and how, like, organized his books are, and, like, organized his desk is, and just how, you know, disciplined he may think he is, but he leaves his socks.
That is one
everywhere.
weird thing. Like, I like to keep my office super clean, everything orderly, but I just can't seem to ever put my socks away.
Yep. And then I think he kind of started leaving other clothes on the floor in his office.
But that's for the cat.
That's what I was just going to say. Our cat has this thing. She likes to lay on Kyle's dirty clothes.
Yeah. So I will occasionally leave like this is weird, but I'll leave a t-shirt on the floor in my office, and it's like just for the cat.
You do that when we go away too, so she like has your scent.
Yeah.
She's obsessed with him.
Yeah. My cat spends probably 90% of the day just in the office, just my little office with me. She could go the whole house. She spends 90% of her day in the office.
She's always been like that too. She's always spent most of her time with you.
Yeah. She's in the office right now as we're recording this podcast.
Sleeping.
Yep.
Yeah. So no, I think that's probably it.
That's the only thing.
That's the only thing
There's
I
nothing
can think
else. There's
that
nothing
they
else.
wouldn't know about you. I mean, you can rap a mean NWA song.
If they watch the YouTube video from our wedding, then they might know that.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know.
Man, you don't make good radio.
I'm sorry.
You do not make good audio.
Whatever.
You don't have anything else to add besides me. I leave socks.
And you like
floor?
to rap NWA. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what they wouldn't know about you.
Here's something that you can elaborate on. I'll feed you some.
Like I could tell them a bunch of weird little things, like you don't like having lotion on your hands.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'll feed them. I'll feed you something
Thanks,
to explain.
I need it.
This is something. So I think part of what drives me, like I've said before, is that for accomplishment. So kind of with accomplishment is being, I want to achieve things. But on the flip side, like in terms of like material things, like I don't really want anything.
Yeah. Yeah. This is true. You would be happy if I just got you like one Chipotle gift card for a gift. And meanwhile, I'll get you like 12 things. Like, here you go. Happy Christmas.
Like, I don't really like things.
But I like to buy you
That's
things.
weird. Like, I don't, like, I mean, I like nice things, but I don't really like, I don't know, like, I don't really have like certain, I don't know.
You're not very
I will say this.
materialistic.
I liked buying that nice coffee maker.
Oh, the wedding gift.
I
Yeah,
like that.
right. But no, you're not really materialistic.
Some good coffee and a good coffee maker. My business supplies, you know,
Yeah.
stuff to podcast, stuff to work, laptop, stuff to make content and stuff, and
Right.
gym stuff. But other than that,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
You don't want the latest, like, I don't even know what a good brand is. Gucci shoes.
no. I think it's just dumb spending money on that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, all the watches that he has, he was either given from a company or I bought him.
Yeah.
So, like, Kyle never really was into buying watches.
No. It's just, I don't know. It just always makes, I mean, whatever you like. Like, I don't want to judge. I mean, if you like buying nice, expensive things, then hey, that gives you enjoyment. It just doesn't give me enjoyment.
Right.
Like, and another thing, and you can probably talk about this too, is I think a lot of times people buy, whether it's like a nice car or fancy clothes or whatever, a lot of it's just, you know, you want to give off the perception. Like, you want people to think that you're making money or you're successful or whatever.
Than you are.
And again, I think you could kind of explain on this, but I don't know. I just really don't care what people think.
Yeah, in my head, I was thinking Kyle does not give two shits what anyone's opinion of him is.
Yeah, like, I really don't. Like, I mean, again, I think that's something that people say a lot. Like, oh, I don't care what people think. But I really don't. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be
entirely
respected.
true.
I want to be respected by people. But, like, I don't care what people think. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know really what that comes from, but I don't know. Again, kind of going back to like the respect thing. Like, I want just people to respect me
Right.
for who I am. But in terms of, I don't know.
You don't care if they think you have the coolest car.
Yeah, it
or
doesn't-
the nicest boat.
Yeah, it
or
doesn't
the
bother
best
me.
haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good or bad. Like, let's say like even let's say I just like won like a super fancy car or something. Like, I wouldn't care if I like drove it to the gym and someone was like, "Oh, look, that's a cool car."
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, some people that's their thing.
That's funny because that's like my dad loves cars. And so when we drive his old car, I feel like every time we've come home and he's like, anyone say anything about the car?
I know. Sometimes one time
People
someone did.
people do, but you're always just like, oh yeah, like, 'cause it's not our car and we just don't really pay attention.
One time I drove it and then he asked and I said someone did, but they didn't.
Always tell him that people are
was like, yeah.
admiring it.
I was like, yeah, someone wanted to talk to me about it.
Oh my goodness.
Damn thing barely even turns. Oh, shit.
Have you driven the older one?
No.
Okay. Well, that one probably doesn't turn either.
No. Can't imagine it does. Oh, shit. What else?
I don't know. You're supposed to ask me something about you and see if I know it.
What guest do you think I had the most fun talking to out of the first 200 episodes?
Jim Wendler.
Yeah, probably. Probably Jim Wendler. Or Lorenzo Alexander.
Yeah.
Bills linebacker. One of those two.
But I think Jim Wendler.
Yeah,
He
the two
doesn't do podcasts.
the two podcasts with Wendler were fun. It was just kind of surreal.
Yeah.
That we had, I was able to have him on the show.
I was doing 531 when we first met.
Yeah, when we first met. Yeah, you were doing 531. Everyone's done 531.
Yeah.
I bet you 90% of the people listening have done at least 531 once. But Wendler was just such a cool dude. Like, he's such a cool dude. Like, in the second podcast, we just talk about random shit. Like, we didn't even talk about training. But Wendler was a big one because, I don't know, he's just one of those episodes where it's like, shit, when I remember when, like, 2011, I don't know, probably 531. The first one came out in like 2009. This is probably like 2010. I was reading. I remember when I first got it, brought it home, read it cover to cover the first night, and then just think, have the opportunity later on to sit and talk to him, have 2 long conversations with him.
Yeah.
Having Mark Bell on the show was cool too, though. Like, kind of reflecting here on the first 200 episodes. I mean, having Mark on the show was cool. We had a nice long talk too.
Yeah.
I remember, of course, first time seeing Mark was from Bigger, Stronger, Faster. That was
yeah,
that movie was, it was a big time movie. I think everyone's watched that. Everyone in the fitness industry has watched that. I remember watching that early on. I think even one of the college classes I took, they showed it.
I feel like kids playing sports in like college probably watched it, even if they weren't into working out.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And actually, like, thinking specifically to Mark is, and most people are probably familiar with his story, but like when that movie came out, he wasn't.
What was it, like, football coach?
He wasn't the meathead millionaire. He was like a football coach, like a high school football coach. And like, he maybe had like first started super training gym, but it was like inside of another gym,
Yeah.
And he was like in his 30s. I think sometimes that helps put in like stuff into perspective. I don't know. It's just like, I think sometimes, especially with social media these days, like it's easy to like get caught up and feel like you're in this like big race,
Right.
Partly that's just kind of my mentality probably, but, I think for everyone listening, and even I have to tell myself, it's like I'm 27. It's still early. Yeah. Still a lot of life left.
Oh, yeah.
I think just constantly focusing on the process of improving, getting better, doing personal development and stuff like that is important. Like, you're probably not going to have your shit figured out at 30 years old.
Or remember, if you do, it's probably going to change.
Remember when you were younger and you thought like your parents had all the answers? You probably never thought that.
I didn't think that.
I don't know if I ever thought that. I probably did at a certain point when I was younger.
I mean, you might have thought your mom and Tom had all the answers.
Yeah. Well, I think at a certain point, you realize that your parents are just people. Like,
figuring it out.
They're just people too. Like, and I don't know. I think that's just it's a important step.
Right.
Like, I don't know, whenever that is when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, something weird happens. You go through a period of time where you kind of become overconfident in what you think too. Like, so very soon after, you're like, oh, my parents, they don't really know everything. They're just people. And you're like 18, and you're like, but I know everything.
Oh, actually, so I do have another question.
Okay.
I just thought of it when we were talking about Mark Bell and other people in the fitness industry. This obviously has nothing to do with them, but I don't know if you ever discussed like a whole thing with Alan Aragon on your podcast when it happened.
No, I don't think I ever really did.
So I was just curious what you think. Do you think there's more sexual harassment in the fitness industry as opposed to any other random career field?
Well, the fitness industry just as a whole is kind of sexual in a way,
Yeah.
Kind of thinking back, like when I was in high school, I was just super into bodybuilding. And just when you think of bodybuilding, it's kind of interesting. Like, just think of a bodybuilding show. It's like a bunch of guys just in their bikinis, essentially, little banana hammocks, and like all the girls just wearing very little clothing, and like that's just normal. Like it's a bodybuilding show,
Right.
Like that's not normal. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I don't look
is
at
it?
I don't know. I don't know that it's normal, but I don't think that I look at anyone and competing and like see them sexually. You know what I mean?
Even with social media?
Well, I think it's a little different when people are posting ass shots for the gram as opposed to people getting up on stage and competing.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm saying just like in general.
Yeah.
Just like in general. Like comparing it to like baseball. Mm-hmm. Like a normal sport. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think
compare
that it's
bodybuilding to baseball.
Right. Hey, they wear tight little uniforms. You can stare at their butts. I've told you 1,000,000 times that I think you should put on a baseball uniform.
Well, they're staring at someone's butt in baseball pants, and there's their ass hanging out of their banana hammock. Like, that's two different things.
Okay, I'm just saying. So,
you gotta show off the
shredded
glutes.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't find that attractive that I don't look at it sexually. I don't want to see your striations in your butt. Just don't.
No, I don't have any striations in my butt.
That's why I like your butt. But no, I do think that with social media, it might make it more, easier to have the whole sexual harassment thing floating around.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. But were you surprised about Alan?
I mean, I didn't really know Alan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like
I didn't really know Alan, so I can't say I was surprised or not surprised. I think
I was surprised because he kind of tries to come off as a very wholesome person.
He does. He definitely does try to come off as that. So I guess I was surprised in that sense. But here's why I'll say I wasn't surprised: is I've met a lot of people in the fitness industry, pretty much everybody. Mm-hmm. Didn't meet Alan. Never met Alan. But I've met most people in the fitness industry. And I think I probably have talked about this on the podcast before. And some people I've been super impressed with. Like, super impressed with. You just meet them, who they are. You're like, shit, I recognize why they're successful. You just are left with a feeling of, you're just, shit, that girl's very, very impressive. But then on the flip side, I've met a ton of fitness people that on the surface are pretty successful, whether it's they have a pretty big following or they've been successful in business, whatever. And after you meet them, you're like, man, like there's a hole somewhere. There's something going on because they just didn't leave me. I don't know. I just wasn't very impressed by them.
Right.
I think it's just easy to look up to someone like Alan because he's smart and puts out evidence-based nutrition information, and you're like, hey, he puts out a lot of good information. He's a good guy. Mm-hmm. He's an impressive dude.
Right.
Well, he isn't in his scope,
Right.
He's impressive at putting out nutrition information. Yeah. He's very impressive about that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that doesn't mean he's an impressive person in any other area.
Yeah.
And you kind of see this with business, like the business aspect. Like, I've met a lot of smart fitness people, and they're just, it's like, man, like they just don't really get it from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
Those two things aren't always related. But on the flip side, you meet some people who are just really, really good at business and marketing, and you're like, oh, I get it now. It's kind of just like all like a market. Like, I've literally had conversations with people in the fitness industry that have huge followings and are fitness influencers, but then you talk to them and they like don't know anything, like the basics about training. And you're like, holy cow, like you coach people or you sell fitness products and you don't know, like, I can just tell you, like, don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But it's like, oh, respect. You understand marketing. Like, good. That's an aspect of this. Right. Marketing's an aspect to it.
So the answer to the question, was it that you think that there's more sexual harassment in the fitness industry? Or you think it's probably even everywhere?
I think it's probably even everywhere. And the reason I say that is because I think the fitness industry, the one thing it does have going for it, and the reason why I think it probably levels out the playing field a little bit, is I don't think there's as much, like, I think if you dissected like office culture, like, I think whenever there's just a lot of people in a group, you're probably going to see that more than with them spread out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right. So you're saying that you think there's probably just as much, like, possibilities for sexual harassment in, like, an office job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, fitness people, most of them don't work in a group. I mean, maybe at, like, a big gym or something.
Right. But so I'm talking about maybe more online, or even, like, when Alan's case, like, all of his stuff that he
like conferences and stuff
supposedly did was at conventions and conferences.
I could see that. Mm-hmm. I could definitely see that. Like, if you were just comparing, like, a fitness convention to I don't know, because then what are we talking about? I mean, again, I'm kind of dealing with the same thing.
Right.
A group of people coming together.
I don't watch any like fitness YouTubers, but think about like all of the weird troll comments you got, but then think about if you were a woman and what those comments would say.
I mean, just like, I know all those girls, like what they get in their DMs has to be crazy. So, I mean, just think about it though. I mean, I get it. Like going to a fitness convention, like going to something like the Arnold or the Olympia. Yeah, I mean, there could be there's a lot of weird people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird people at those things.
Yeah, especially you have to meet a lot of people. You don't know everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. Just wanted to bring that up because I don't know that we talked about it or that you talked about it. And I mean, I'm not surprised. I was disappointed in that, but don't care about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't necessarily surprised, but then again, you know, he never really.
Well, it's just like
I didn't know him.
Right.
So
I think it's the surprise where like his online persona he tried to portray was wholesome. Like I said, he tried to come off as like some wholesome, nerdy science family man. But what you've brought up before is like people put out certain things online, and that's actually not.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Is that's again points to what the part of me that wasn't surprised is because I've seen a lot of people that put a persona online, and then you meet them in person, and you're like, oh, that's not really who they are.
Yeah.
You know, they play that on Instagram or on social media.
Their character.
That exactly. They play a character in social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, I wasn't necessarily surprised.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. What are some people that you think I should have on in the next?
You already know that I'm going to say podcast. You need to bring on more women.
Yeah, I do need to have more women on the podcast. Yeah. I agree.
I don't know. I mean, I think what's something interesting, and I don't even watch the challenge anymore, and you know I don't watch the challenge, but they're bringing in people from like Big Brother and Survivor, so I feel like it's getting a little bit kind of more athletic, and Ninja Warrior. So it's kind of getting crazier. They're not just reality, like drama TV stars. Like Emily clearly was an athlete, but you could bring in maybe someone from Big Brother, Survivor, Ninja Warrior. I liked that you had some football players, like that ESPN guy.
NFL Network?
Yeah. I don't know his name.
He actually got fired from NFL Network.
Oh, shit. That sucks. But yeah, like he was a retired football player, Lorenzo. Yep. So I just think anything outside of your typical fitness Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I've tried to be. This whole podcast, I've tried to kind of think outside the box a little bit. Just really bring people on that I want to talk to. Oh,
but you know, I did want to send you this person's profile earlier. Chrissy's brand, Donuts and Deadlift. Mm-hmm. They just sponsored some new powerlifting chick, and she looks like strong as hell. She definitely looks like a badass. So I was thinking maybe you could bring her on.
Do you know her name?
I don't remember it. I don't, but I saw it and I was like, yep, she looks like she'd be a good fit. Cool.
All right. Well, let's bring this one home. Episode 200. Mm-hmm. We did it.
I know.
Hopefully the audio worked.
Oh, this should be interesting.
Cool. All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit me up in the DMs at Hunt Fitness on Instagram. Let me know what you thought of episode 200. If you liked it, maybe I can bring Ashlyn back on before episode 400.
You know what we should do, though? We should find, like, a quiz where it's like, I quiz you on me and you quiz me on you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Uh-huh. Or if someone, like, asked relationship questions.
Oh, we could do that.
Could do a relationship Q&A.
Uh-huh. We are parents. Been married for almost 2 years now.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, as always, hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, peace. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Absolute Strength Podcast. I know I had a ton of fun producing it for you. And before you go, if you could just drop me some feedback, I'd love it. I love reading your feedback. So you can go over to iTunes, leave a 5-star rating, write a little review, what you think of the podcast. I absolutely love it. I read every single one. But it's cool if you don't want to do that. I get it. No one wants to really go out of their way to do anything, let alone write a review. But I want to get your feedback. So drop me a line on Instagram at Hunt Fitness, or on Facebook, Kyle Hunt, or on Twitter, or send a pigeon or something. I don't know. I just want to hear your feedback. So if you want to give me some feedback, let me know what you think. Hit me up on Instagram at Hunt Fitness. And before you go, I have one last thing I want to say. I have a program I want you to check out. It's actually called the Absolute Strength Program, and the link is in the show notes. It's a program I designed to help increase my own squat, bench, and deadlift. And I got pretty strong off of it, and I think you're going to like it. It's a great book. Thousands of people have got amazing results from it. It's in the show notes. All right, guys. Until next time, until next episode, peace.